Sapporo Daisuke!
What is happening in 2025? We're not even 6 months into the year and we've already witnessed two of the biggest LAN events in ALG's history. I mean, we had an ALG's event in Japan before, but yeah. The Open LAN event in NOLA just got wrapped up, and this one had everything. To start with, everyone's favorite underdog team won the main event. The finalist lobby was a little underwhelming, but their run in the elimination bracket, bro, that wasn't Apex, that was straight up Hunger Games. And I'm sure our favorite ALG's YouTubers, Jayhawk and Jumba, are gonna have a field day with that storyline. And if we talk about NOLA, we have to talk about the viewer experience. I think it's high time they consider a rebrand. But technical issues aside, there was real magic happening on that stage. We got to see a glimpse of the Tier 2 scene. Teams like Nine Lives, Twerkaholics, and players like Panic, Floating, Cersei, and Euler Riemann, they were showing the Tier 2 scene is hungry and dangerous. And for most players, this was their very first time in a major tournament. The crazy part is, I got to sit with one such person who got forged in the Tier 2 scene. This man has accomplished a lot of things under a year in the Taiwan scene, in his regional pro league and the international LAN events. This is Atinum. The day is 5th April 2025, exactly one day before the start of Year 5 Pro League. And
hello,
two-time LAN finalist and the current IGL of Go Next. How do you feel about all of that?
I feel good. I mean, since it was our first pro league as well, like with Trojan, it was our first pro league. So even making LAN was already an achievement, and then making finals was even more of an achievement. So that obviously felt really good.
Your year 4 was nothing short of iconic. I mean, it was your first time in Pro League, first time in LAN, and you've been through so much. So I got something for you.
This guy, I'm telling you, man, he's might be the best, like one of the best mountain key players in the region.
Swing left. Serious one. Last one. What did I do? I got 150, 100, one kill me. Kill. Oh.
On top of one, takes one out, but it's knocked him!
Oh, I mean, the goal definitely is to make the LAN final.
And knocked him! Oh my goodness!
That's really good. Thank you for that. I like that.
Yeah, you're welcome. See, you can't really blame me, okay? I didn't know what else to give him as a token of appreciation, especially since the entire conversation happened online, right? And you gotta also remember, at the time of making that interview, this is a professional player, and he just agreed to have a conversation about my favorite video game when I was a nobody, right? So I felt like I had this responsibility to make sure I'm not taking his time for granted and I'm honoring his time, right? Funny part was the idea to make this compilation was completely last minute. I was with a friend. We're going through the preparation, right? I was practicing how to ask questions in front of the camera, how to pace myself to the interview, right? And he randomly suggested, Hamzi, I think you should try and surprise him with something, you know? I didn't know what to do, but it stuck with me. And that's how I ended up making my very first gameplay compilation, right? As of 20th May 2025. I'm still growing as an editor, and growing is painful. But everyone's got to do it, right? Anyway, we ended up talking about a lot of Apex, starting with the very recent spicy meta changes. I think I asked him about the difficulty in playing the game, in IGLing the game, in the previous metas versus the current meta with the legend ban system. And this is what he had to say.
I think for everyone, it's just easier if you know like the 3 legends that people are playing. When it comes to the legend bans, there's a different comp every game. Like some teams switch this out, and you've got to realize as well, different legends do different things. So like when you have Ashe in the pool, you could just get inted on so quick. You could just have an Ashe DP on your head, right? You get thirded quickly. When you have a lot of Wraiths in the game, you got to be aware of kidnaps, right? So you have to be aware of a lot of things. Even more so, like a battle royale is already enough. Having now legend bans, and then now you've got a new map and stuff like that. It's a lot more to work with. But it hasn't been too difficult. I mean, the legends that we're playing, we've played before too, so it's nothing like brand new.
When they announced a really massive change, like we had POI drafting system last year, how do you usually respond to it? How did you react to it? Is that something that plays to your strengths?
Yeah, so the POI draft was... We were contesting Alliance and 07, which is now NIP.
Mm-hmm.
And that was... it was going to be interesting, because, I mean, obviously, that was our first time in Pro League contesting 2 huge, like, teams.
Yeah.
I think we were doing okay against... We were doing good against 07. I think we were losing against Alliance. But I'm not a fan of contest. Like, I only contested because we kind of had to, and I wanted to get a good POI as well. We were a zone team too, so we were like happy with like a lot of different POIs, and it worked out for me as well because I can learn like the other POIs. Like I'm not just stuck with one POI. Like some teams have been playing this one POI for the whole of comp for like 2 years or whatever, right? I've just like I've played everything. I've been in a lot of different teams. I've played different play styles, so I can like adapt pretty well, and I can have a lot of time to like VOD review. I have a lot of time to like invest at VOD review and understand how these POIs work. So the POI draft worked pretty well because I didn't like the contesting and we were happy with different POIs. So
at this point in the interview, my head started lighting up with tungsten filament bulbs, okay? Because we gotta remember a few facts about contesting, okay? It used to be the most entertaining aspect to watch as a spectator in early game, right? But it is no longer a part of Tier 1 scene anymore. We're not going to see teams contesting for the same POI in Pro League or LAN, right? But we can't forget that it is still a part of the Tier 2 scene, which means the way you prepare and the challenges that you need to be ready to face are completely different from Tier 1 and Tier 2, right? Adi is someone who spent a really long time in Tier 2 scene. I was like, okay, so this is the perfect opportunity to ask how he prepares for the most common challenges and issues you run into as a Tier 2 team and a player and have a conversation about it. And so we did. Talking about contesting, I'm curious on what your approach was when you were in Tier 2. When you were still in Challenger Circuit, how did you approach contesting?
we tried to avoid contesting, I don't like remember entirely, but I think we played hard zone POIs. So we played Jurassic and Landslide. We were playing Watson Cat from Jurassic and Landslide. So teams weren't really contesting us for these POIs. I mean, I kind of like made a name for myself, like for teams to like not contest us. So that helped as well, because a lot of it is, I mean, you see Alliance, right? Alliance with their Trident North pad, right? Nobody's contesting them because they know they're Alliance. They know they're gonna get like just ran at, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of it is your name and your status.
Roster changes are pretty notorious in Tier 2, right? How do you approach when you're constantly switching teams? What is going on in your mind? Do you think about personal development, or are you thinking about how can I extract the maximum performance from this roster?
That's a good question. I don't think I was like looking to leave. It's been like so many different teams. Even if I think this team is not for me, I still try my best with them. When I'm with them, like in a game day, I'm not going to be thinking, oh, these guys don't work for me. I need to find someone else. Like during the game day, that's something you have to think of after, right? So during the games, And during the period that I'm with that team, I just think of how we can improve, how we can do better. Because I have high expectations, I have high goals as well. So if I think that they can't like reach them, then I look for someone else. And I think that was maybe a mistake. Some people say that was a mistake, that I should have like stayed with the teams, played Pro League with them, and then made a name for myself in Pro League. But like I don't know, I feel like I'm kind of like using them in a way, and I don't want to like use them. I just want to have a team that I'm like happy with.
Was there ever an opportunity that popped up to be in Pro League when you were still in Tier 2?
So when I was with Blue Whites, like I knew we could make Pro League. Like in our first, we won back-to-back CC days. Like after seeing that, I was like, okay, I'm definitely like a Pro League player. Like I can, even though I'm in CC, I'm definitely like a Pro League level player. Then the goal wasn't any more Pro League. The goal was LAN. So I was looking. I wanted to. I don't want to make Pro League, get a decent or mediocre result, and then just like stay there forever, right? Like I want to make it further. I want to win. I want to make LAN. So if I didn't see that potential, then I was like, what's the point? I didn't see the point.
After a point in time, it became less of an interview and more like an actual conversation, purely because of how emotionally grounded his responses were, right? We even see him actually experience guilt when talking about swapping teams on rosters. And I thought it was pretty interesting. I thought that is pretty rare because if you know anything about the competitive gaming scene, being mature makes you a misfit. Being emotionally aware and being mature in a scene dominated by man children by default just makes you a misfit, right? And that's exactly why I wanted to know more about him as a person. Because only when I understand him as a person, one can really grasp on how he handles setbacks and failures. Because those are equally important like one clipping someone, right? And story time. NOLA was happening and I was still editing this video, the interview footage, and obviously judging myself. But something happened. Ati seemed to face the biggest setback of his pro career so far on his actual birthday. More on that later, but let's try to understand the person behind the player. Outside of IGLing and competing, who is Atinum as a person?
I mean, while I was growing up, I mean, as I am like as a person, I try to be like like quite positive and like friendly and fun. Like I don't like things when things are serious and boring.
And what about gaming? What was your history with gaming? And what sparked your competitive drive?
I mean, I played games like all my life ever since I was very young.
Okay.
My main PC game was CS, so I played CS:GO a lot. I reached global elite in that game, or face at level 10. Played Rocket League. I played a little bit of Overwatch. I played a little bit of Rainbow Six Siege. I played competitive Rainbow Six Siege too, but I wasn't too far into that. And then, yeah, I just stumbled into Apex. I enjoyed Apex for a bit. I got masters, and then I went into the comp scene and just been grinding in the comp scene, and that's how it's been.
How did your family respond to this choice that you made to pursue competitive video games?
They encourage me a lot. As long as, because now this is my job, right? So now I mean, it's like when I was in tier 2, this wasn't my job. This was like a part-time kind of thing. So even when I was in Pro League, I was working a part-time job and playing Pro League. So it was a bit like of a mixture. But as soon as I made LAN, I took like the step to pursue Apex.
To pursue Apex. I think there is something very fascinating about sharing space with someone who is chasing their dreams. They just radiate different, you know? Anyway, coming back to the story, NOLA was still happening. I believe that was day 3, and Gonex gets knocked out of the tournament, right? And then on the same day, I happened to learn that it was Atinum's birthday. Ugh. So a little bit of context. I am pretty socially anxious, right? I had a self-imposed rule that don't text him until you post the video, right? That is what I told myself. I was like, I'm gonna post it before the LAN, during the LAN, maybe after the LAN, right? I was too embarrassed to even wish him luck without really doing my part, That is just how I operate sometimes. Eventually, I said fuck it, and I texted him anyway. I went like, hey man, happy birthday, tough luck this LAN, I hope you guys bounce back. And this is what he had to say. I thought to myself, I've spent over an hour talking to this man on a video call. And that response pretty much sums up his character that I learned during the interview, So yeah, the next segment, it is very ALG specific. I believe I cooked up some interesting questions about mentality and about the invisible weight of being an IGL. You said that you're pretty positive in general in life, but when it comes to Battle Royale, where so many things can go wrong, how do you stay positive on a match day, especially when IGLing?
That's one thing I make sure I do is in a real day where it actually like matters, when it's not just scrims. Even if I'm very annoyed at someone, I just don't say anything, because it's not gonna make them play better. It's not gonna unless it's something that I need to say. I try to say it in like a positive, like upbringing, like kind of way. Like if saying, guys, the comms need to be a bit better. Like that's it, right? I don't try to like dwell on it too much. So that's one thing that I try to do as well. When in IGL, you're like kind of like the role model of the team. So if being that kind of good role model, then it helps the other players as well.
IGL as a role model. I've never thought about it that way, but I think it makes sense, The player on the team who is tasked with the most mentally demanding duties, But anyway, at the point in the conversation, I'm like, bro, there's just no way. I understand that you want to be an optimistic person, but it is impossible. It is impossible to compete in the game and not get frustrated about things. The game is designed around rage baiting elements, right? Are you actually telling me that you never scream, that you never shout? Are there any specific traits that you don't ever want to encounter in your teammates? And I kept trying and trying until he finally gave up.
Sometimes I shout. Sometimes I shout, but it doesn't really affect my mental. It's just like annoying when teams are not playing like scrims realistically. But as for like teammates, I would say I never had like an issue with teammates, to be honest. Like it's always been like fine. But if I know that some teams like have someone that just instantly like blames someone else, they just always put that blame on that person, and like it affects them a lot. I want someone that thinks on the whole, like the whole picture. Like, yeah, that could have, yeah, I could have made a mistake, but like you also made a mistake. It's not like whoever makes the most mistake loses or whatever. That's not the point of the game. Is we're all trying to do better. So if someone just like looks at the mistakes and just without like saying, oh, how can you improve on those mistakes, like that would probably like annoy me.
The game is pretty long, right? It's 25 minutes of constant, non-stop decisions at every stage. Which stage of the game do you think is hard to IGL?
Well, I mean, it depends for some people. Like some people find, I don't know. That's a good question, because a lot of people, you know what they do? They like analyze. They're like, when they look back at their games, they would review their own games. They look back at the last fight that they could have taken, but that the mistake couldn't have been the. It could be the position that you're in. It could be the early game mistake that you don't like realize that you made because you didn't realize that was a mistake. It depends for some play styles as well. I think so. If you're playing Edge and you like pick the wrong side to fight, that could be a big, like a 20-point difference, right? Because you've just taken like the wrong fight, like the wrong side, and you're like going to be instead of fighting one team for God spot, you're fighting 5 teams to try to get into zone, right? For me, as because now that I'm playing Edge with Go Next, like we're playing Lightning Rod. I think the early game can be a little bit harder for me. I would say. I think the end game and the mid game, I like notice things very easily, but the early game can be a bit difficult for me.
And talking about decisions, there is usually this disagreement between the IGL and the fragger of the team when it comes to making a play, making a call, especially in high intense moments. Have you ever experienced such disagreements on your team? And if you did, how do you navigate through that?
Well, I can't say anything about Go next because we only played scrims and like tier 2 tournaments.
Yeah.
But with Noctum, there wasn't really an issue because these were new players. These were like Remix and Mosin were like this is their first time in LGS. They weren't really like making the calls and like making the plays. That was like on me to do. I was doing that. I was like as an IGL, I was also the fragger. So in that first pro league, I was playing Bang, which was like a fragger legend. So I was the one fragging and IGLing. Even when I was playing Crypto in split 2 playoffs, kind of like told Mosin like what to do, and he just like listens to the calls. He doesn't really like some teams make the calls, like some players make the calls, like kinda. He sometimes makes calls. Other teams like don't really make calls, and they just like listen to the IGL, and both work work well. So it just depends what kind of team it is.
As an IGL, your calls have a lot of weight behind it. And we all have bad days, right? So when you make a call, but it doesn't get executed properly, how do you differentiate between the quality of the call and the quality of execution? How do you not second guess yourself or feel guilty about it?
Well, if I see, like, I just analyze the game. Like, if I see, okay, this was the right play, we just executed it wrong, then I mean, that's it. Like, if I look back at the game and think, wait, maybe this was a bad fight to take, maybe this, whatever. I just like have to analyze the game and see. And if it's the right call and we've just lost the fight, then that's not necessarily on me, right? That could be someone else's mistake, but I still, as an IGL, I've done my job.
Oh, okay. Did you always approach IGLing this way, even during your tier 2 days?
I mean, that's always been me. Even not as an IGL, I've always analyzed what I could have done better before like anything else. That's why I think I improved a lot.
I think this final segment of questions is by far my most favorite one. I thought of asking direct questions to Atinum, the competitor, and the person beyond the competitor, you know? Now that you've made LAN, I mean, you even went all the way, making match point round lobbies 2 out of 2 times. What is your goal now?
Yeah, the goal is no longer finals. The goal is well, it's still finals. It's just top 5. I would say top 5. I think it's definitely hard to win, and I think we're also still like a new team. So I think top 5. I guess top 10 will be good as well, but I have high expectations with the team, and I think we can get top 5.
What do you expect out of Atinum as a player? What would be the final form of Atinum look like?
I think I don't know if it's like too like egotistical to say or whatever, but I think like I'm kind of like already there. It's just like maybe fixing a little couple of mistakes here and there. Like I'm at my like highest level. Like I'm confident in my teammates as well being at the highest level. So it's just about executing now, I would say.
When you look back at your career a few years from now, what do you want to be remembered for?
I don't want it to be like achievement orientated necessarily. I think maybe people can remind me of like my attitude and like my hard work, I would say.
With that, we come to the end of the video and the interview, of course. I hope by the end of the conversation, you have a new player to root for. You have a new IGL to listen to. Because I certainly did. And I believe the bigger picture of the video has always been to have more meaningful conversations, right? Conversations about failing, about growing, about practicing. I believe having such space to talk about difficult conversations within the gaming culture can be fascinating. So I'll see you guys again. See ya.